Trump claimed that birthright citizenship was originally meant for the children of formerly enslaved people, not immigrants. That is a statement that has exploded online. But is it actually true? Let's watch these clips and then I'll come back with more comments.
And thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people.
And those civil rights laws was written strictly and exclusively for black people. That's called the Slaughterhouse case of 1872. And then later on in 1879, the Saunders case said the same thing, that the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendment, the civil rights laws were put in place to protect the ex-slaves in America, the black population. They should not be entered by anyone else and be misused, because if you let other people use it, that's how whites come up with this thing about, if you're going to try to take back what we took from you, that's reverse discrimination. So that's why it's a joke that have all these other groups coming here being classified as immigrants and white immigrants, and again, being able to use the 13th, the 14th, and 15th Amendment. That was strictly for black folk and ex-slaves. They're not ex-slaves, Native Americans, ex-slaves, black Americans, ex-slaves. They have no entitlements at the 13th, the 14th, and 15th Amendment of the civil rights laws. The immigration policies, the civil rights laws of this country have been misused and abused, and the primary perpetrator of that has been the United States Supreme Court. And here's what I'm saying about the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court is a guardian of racism in this country. Their primary responsibility, all the way back since they were appointed in 1803, was to be able to misuse and guard and maintain slavery and subordination of black folk in the country. And that is in violation of the 13th and 14th Amendment. The United States Supreme Court has no right to overrule anything pertaining to black folk in terms of rights, obligations, privileges, and reparations. They have no rights. Their rights are restricted to being in ambassadorial appointments and relieving people who have violated their oath of office in the federal government, in a federal job, or in a lowercase ruling. That's it. And so black folk need to understand and sort of reverting back and saying we're reclaiming our rights and privileges.
Telling me I'm a guest in this country?
You are. I mean, yeah, you were born here, but your family and stuff is not from here. You said that you have learned American history and African American history. However, you have not lived it and you have not derived from it. And because of that, yes, you are a guest in this country.
Okay, I'm going to say this one time and one time only, because I feel like everyone's being purposely dense. That video was in reference to me saying, when y'all are coming online saying, oh, this isn't our fight, you guys are basically saying you don't care about other black people. And then I have other people in my comments saying they don't care about other black people. And then try to say I'm a guest in the country that I was born and raised in. America is a country full of immigrants, right? Nobody's from here. The only people who can say that they're from here and they're actually from this land are the indigenous people. Everybody came from somewhere else. So let's start there. If I'm a guest, everyone's a guest. And I still don't appreciate, yeah, I might not be ethnically African American or Black American, but I am not a guest in this country. I am not a guest. The same 14th Amendment that Trump is threatening to overturn right now is the same 14th Amendment that granted formerly enslaved people citizenship because they were born in the country. That is a birthright citizenship. So if I am a guest, and if you are comfortable using that mentality, the white supremacist, like exclusionary mentality of like, I'm going to be considered a guest, and those people are going to be considered a guest, and those people are considered a guest. It's a matter of time before it comes back to you. That's what I'm saying. Everything's going to come back to, but everything's interconnected. Everything's gonna affect us. That you think the concentration camps that they're putting these immigration the people that they snatched off the street, like legit concentration camp. This shit looked like fucking Auschwitz. It's not gonna be later on used against activists or like environmental activists or anyone who wants to speak up against the state. They are literally deporting U.S. citizens. They literally sent somebody who was a U.S. citizen to El Salvador. They deported him. And they're like, oops, well, we can't bring him back. I'm not being hyperbolic. This shit is actually happening. So if you want to focus, instead of focusing on the fact that literally our civil rights, whether you are African American or first generation African in America, you want to focus on the logistics and the identity politics of all of it. And I'm literally telling you, yo, the Gestapo is literally at the door. They're going to come for us. And you're going to fix your face to call me a guest? I'm not a guest.
They want black folk to not have nothing, have hostile immigrants on top of them, attacking black people to the point they got to leave. Black folks can't get no jobs because they don't speak a different language. Talk to black folks in LA and let them tell you that they can't get jobs in their own homeland because they don't speak a foreign language. I kind of laughed at Trump when he was talking about that. He said, I ain't learning your language, but he cussed in the middle of it. I thought it was kind of funny when he said that he ain't learning nobody's language. But black folks can't even get a job because that's how much foreigners have taken over an American city that they won't even hire black Americans. And if they possibly want to hire and say, well, do you speak Spanish? Speak Spanish, bruh. Your homeland is South. It's not your homeland, bruh. But this is what the Democrats have done. And it's the Democrats that's fighting Trump on this. It's the Democrats. Why? Because the Democrats have already made their pivot and their decision that we want to bring all the immigrants here and make them citizens, okay? So we can displace black Americans and their voting power.
So to understand this, we need to go back to the 14th Amendment to the US Constitution. It was passed right after the American Civil War to guarantee citizenship to formerly enslaved Black Americans, overturning the infamous Dred Scott v. Sanford decision. So on that part, Trump is pointing to something real. But here is where things get more complicated. In 1898, the Supreme Court ruled in United States versus Wong Kib-ak that children born in the United States to immigrants' parents are also citizens. And that interpretation has stood for over a century. So now, two competing views. One side says the amendment original purpose matters and it wasn't about immigration. And the other side says the Constitution wording is clear, and courts have already settled this.
I don't see a lot of creators talking about this, but the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear oral argument regarding President Trump's challenge to birthright citizenship on April 1st, 2026. The case that President Trump is challenging focuses on whether an executive order can end automatic citizenship for children born in the U.S. to undocumented or temporary status. That could be a big win for Black Americans because, as we all know, Black Americans are the descendants of slaves, which the 14th Amendment birthright citizenship was originally for. So basically, because the United States is having an immigration issue, if this order that Trump is challenging gets passed, Black Americans in America will have a greater chance now of getting assistance, getting a job, and so much more. Like, you guys need to wake up and realize what's going on right.
In regards to this birthright citizenship stuff, I want to be clear. I never really talked about this and never really got down into the subject of this because I didn't understand what was occurring and why it was occurring. At the end of the day, the constitutional clause that talks about birthright citizenship 100% was meant to include or was 100% meant to refer to the children of prisoners of war. Okay, it does not mean, and it did not mean at that time, that if somebody from Libya comes to America, that when they have a child, that they have birthright citizenship. It never did mean that, because at that time when that law was put into place, there were only Indigenous Americans and Caucasians, or Europeans rather. There wasn't a whole bunch of other people here. So it at the time, it addressed the conversation of the time, of the moment, right? So the issue that I have with immigrants coming in and trying to use that as like a catch-all type of umbrella clause for them is that they then are now pushing that means that they have the same rights as those who are indigenous to this land, one, which is Black Americans, who I'm specifically talking about, and those who actually created the system with which we currently live in, which are the people who conquered us at the end of the day. That's what happened, right? Right? So the issue comes in when they are, and see, this is what they're doing. They are trying to say that Black people are immigrants and we're immigrants, so we should be able to be treated and get the same rights as Black people. And it's just not the truth. We are not immigrants. We were already here. So the issue with this conversation is that it separates us from our birthright and our inheritance to the land, okay? And to, to benefit from the system, that was created from on our backs. And it really was. And so when the immigrants come here and they say, oh, this place was built on the backs of immigrants. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. So Black people, you got to pay attention to this, because actually at the end of the day, what they're trying to do is they are trying to say that Black people are similar to immigrants, that we are the same, and we're not. We were indigenous to the land. We could never be the same. And I think we need to get a little bit ahead of this at the end of the day. I think instead of us even trying to play on this level field, because we are indigenous to the land, we have more capability and more power than we even know. And we need to start setting the tone for that. We need to start setting our own ground rules, because at the end of the day, it's getting out of hand. People who are coming from other places think that they have the same rights that you have. No, you have courtesies. There's a difference, right? You have courtesies. We've given you a courtesy. We've extended you a courtesy, okay? And we've given you some additional privileges, but those are not rights that you have. If you're an immigrant, that's just it. You're an immigrant. That means that we have given you courtesy. We have given you the courtesy to allow you to do certain things. That doesn't mean that you come over here and you start making the rules.
So this debate is trending now because it connects to bigger issues like immigration, national identity, and how the Constitution should be interpreted today. And depending on how this is decided, it could affect millions of people. So here is the real question. Should birthright citizenship be interpreted based on original intent, or how it's been applied over time? Let me know in the comments section below, and kindly remember to keep it respectful. And if you want more breakdowns like these, clear, factual, and straight to the point, hit the subscribe button to join our family, because the details matter more than the headlines. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.